My husband held another woman's hand right in the middle of the hospital fundraiser where he works. Not a polite handshake. His hand rested on hers longer than necessary, long enough for the people around them to notice. When I asked him what he was doing, he looked at me like I was a stranger and said quietly but coldly enough, "You're making this awkward for me. Go home and calm down." So I left. By the time he walked through our front door that night, I had made 3 phone calls that could wipe out the 15-year career he had worked so hard to build. His title as department chief, his reputation as the model physician, the image of the perfect family in front of colleagues and the board. All of it. My name is Hannah Carter. I'm an architect specializing in hospital design in San Diego. I met my husband Daniel Carter 8 years ago during a surgical wing renovation project. He walked into the conference room with a confident smile, asked sharp, insightful questions, and asked for my number before I had even closed my laptop. We were married 14 months later. Everyone said we were the perfect match. The builder and the lifesaver. The first 5 years were genuinely happy. Then, the small changes began. His phone face down on the table. Emergency surgeries on Tuesday and Thursday nights. Conversations reduced to work schedules and bills. And one name that started coming up far too often. That night beneath the glittering lights of the fundraiser, when Daniel told me to go home and calm down, he had no idea I was far calmer than he thought. And that calm would change his entire life. The first 5 years of that marriage were truly as picture-perfect as a lifestyle magazine spread. Daniel was appointed head of orthopedics at one of the largest hospitals in Southern California. I was entrusted with increasingly important projects at my architecture firm. We bought a house overlooking the ocean in La Jolla. Every morning I opened the windows, heard the waves, and thought I was living the exact version of life I had once dreamed of. We showed up for each other's events. I sat at the front table during hospital fundraisers listening to him speak about medical ethics and community responsibility. He attended my project openings, proudly introducing me as his wife, an architect who designs spaces where lives are saved. We talked about having children. Maybe when his schedule eased up. Maybe when I made partner at my firm. Then around year 6, nothing shattered in one dramatic moment. It simply began to erode. Daniel stopped asking about my work. The man who used to spread my blueprints across the dinner table and debate every detail of surgical lighting now nodded absent-mindedly, eyes fixed on his phone. Our conversations turned into task lists. Who would buy groceries? Whether the bills had been paid. He'd be home late. Don't wait up. I told myself it was pressure. Responsibility. The weight of leadership wearing him down. People always say that long marriages don't keep those late-night conversations from the early days. But then there was the phone. Daniel had never kept secrets from me. He used to leave his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered. He'd ask me to read his messages aloud when he was driving. And yet one morning in early March, I noticed his phone face down on the nightstand, placed neatly as if it had been calculated. When I picked it up to check the time, the screen asked for a new passcode. He said it was a hospital security requirement. It sounded perfectly reasonable. Daniel had a way of explaining things that made asking further questions seem unnecessary. Then came the Tuesday and Thursday nights. Around 6 in the evening I would get a text. Emergency surgery. Don't wait up. No details. No suggestion that I bring dinner to the hospital like he used to. He'd come home close to 11. The familiar scent of antiseptic soap clinging to him, and another scent, subtle but unmistakable, that didn't belong in a hospital. I started noticing a name. Claire. At first, it was just work-related. Claire handled that surgery well. Claire proposed a new approach for that patient. Then her name began appearing more often. Claire understands the pressure of this position. Claire has a great idea for the fundraiser. Claire thinks we should change the protocol. One week I heard her name 14 times in 7 days. 14 times his voice lit up when he spoke about someone who wasn't me. When I asked who he was texting, he looked at me and asked why I didn't trust him. And in that moment I understood the problem wasn't just the phone. It was the way he made me question my own instincts. I stopped arguing, but I didn't stop observing. If Daniel thought I was just a sensitive wife imagining problems, he had misjudged me. I'm an architect. My job is to see the internal structure of a building before it's ever completed, and I began looking at my marriage the same way. Everything has a pattern. Tuesday night. Text at 6:12 p.m. Emergency surgery. Don't wait up. Thursday night. Text at 6:08 p.m. Surgery running late. I'll be home late. No details. No real exhaustion when he walked through the door. No specific stories about patients like he used to share. Then I saw the first charge. $340 at an upscale oceanfront restaurant. Tuesday night. Same time frame as the emergency surgery text. I took a screenshot of the transaction and saved it in a folder on my phone labeled receipts. A name ordinary enough not to attract attention. A week later, there was a hotel charge. $422. Thursday night. I found the paper receipt in the pocket of his coat when I was getting it ready for dry cleaning. I photographed it, saved it, logged the date, logged the time. I didn't confront him. I collected. Every time he mentioned Claire, I made a note. Every late night I marked it down. I created a spreadsheet. Column for date. Column for location. Column for transaction. Column for text message. Feelings can be denied. Numbers can't. After 2 weeks, the pattern became clear. Tuesdays were the restaurant and hotel in North Park. Thursdays were a modern apartment complex in Hillcrest where short-term rental charges appeared with steady consistency. I needed more than suspicion. I needed evidence that couldn't be twisted. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Laura Mitchell with a small office in Mission Valley and a calm, almost icy demeanor. She told me 5 days would be enough. 5 days later, I received a digital file. Photos of Daniel and Claire walking into a restaurant together. Photos of them entering a hotel. A shot of his hand resting on the small of her back as they crossed a parking lot. Tuesday. Thursday. Repeat. I sat in my home office for an hour just breathing. No more doubt. No more space for explanations. No more blaming myself for overthinking. But I still said nothing. I wanted to be certain that when I acted it would happen once and it would be final. No arguments. No drawn-out drama. No opportunity for him to twist the narrative and turn me into the insecure wife who didn't trust her husband. Then the invitation to the spring gala arrived. For the first time in 2 years, Daniel suggested I attend with him. He said it would be good networking for my career. He said it would be good for both of us. I looked at him and smiled. I said yes, because I knew that if he was confident enough to stand beside me in public while continuing that relationship, then that very public place would be where everything ended. If you've made it this far and you've ever doubted your own instincts, comment 1. Sometimes what we feel isn't imagination. It's a signal that it's time to face the truth. That night I arrived at the hotel alone. Daniel said he had to stop by the hospital first, something urgent with a patient. He told me to go ahead and head in, that he'd text when he arrived. I wore a new navy dress, elegant, refined, noticeable without being loud. I had worn dresses like that before, and heard him whisper that I looked beautiful. That night I wasn't sure whether I wore it for him or for myself. The ballroom shimmered with light. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Soft music drifted through carefully polished conversations. I stood near the silent auction table, a glass of water in my hand, my eyes constantly shifting toward the entrance. 20 minutes passed. 30. I texted him. I'm here. Where are you? No response. And then I saw him. Daniel was standing across the room. And he wasn't alone. Claire stood beside him in a soft green dress, her hair falling naturally under the lights. But what made me go still wasn't the dress or her hair. It was the way Daniel looked at her. He leaned in when she spoke. He smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months, a real smile, not a polite nod. Claire's hand rested on his forearm. Light, casual, but long enough for anyone to understand. I noticed 2 nurses nearby glance at me before quickly looking away. A physician I knew approached me and started talking about my firm's newest project, as if deliberately shielding me from having to watch any longer. I took a slow, steady breath. I didn't storm out. I didn't turn and walk away. I picked up 2 glasses of water and walked straight toward them. Claire saw me first. For the briefest second, something shifted in her eyes. Then everything settled back into flawless politeness. Daniel turned around. Oh, there you are. He took the glass from my hand without meeting my eyes. Daniel, the man who once introduced me to entire conference rooms with unmistakable pride, now simply said, "This is Claire. Claire, this is my wife." Nothing more. I tried to join the conversation. But every time I spoke, Daniel talked over me. Whenever I mentioned a new hospital project, Claire smoothly redirected the topic to a complex surgery only the two of them understood. Inside details, stories I didn't belong in. I stood there listening to them laugh. Listening to him exhale easily as he spoke to her. Listening to myself grow quieter. After nearly 2 hours, I said softly, "I want to go home." Daniel looked at me as if I had said something unreasonable. "We just got here. I've been here almost 2 hours. You've been here with her almost the entire time." His jaw tightened, and then the familiar sentence dropped into the brightly lit air. "You're making this awkward for me. Go home and calm down. We'll talk later." No apology. No explanation. Just a command delivered in an even tone. I looked at him for a long moment. The man who once sat across from me at the dinner table studying my blueprints and telling me he was proud of me. The man who once promised we would build a future together. I set the glass of water down. "You're right," I said. "I should go home." I walked out of the ballroom without looking back. I didn't cry in the elevator. I didn't cry in the parking garage. I drove through the crowded downtown streets in complete silence. When I pulled into our driveway, I sat in the dark for 5 minutes. I didn't feel explosive. I didn't feel shattered. I felt clear. Daniel didn't know that for the past month I had been preparing for this moment. He didn't know I had saved every receipt, every photo, every transaction. He didn't know I had already spoken to an attorney. He didn't know the paperwork had been drafted waiting to be filed. I walked into the house without turning on the main lights. I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. 11:47 p.m. I sent an email to the hospital's HR department. I attached every document. I cited the policy regarding relationships between supervisory staff and employees within the same system. My tone was neutral. No emotion. Just facts. 1:15 p.m. I forwarded the same email to the chief medical officer. 1:15 p.m. I texted my attorney. File Monday morning. Serve him at work. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to argue. He told me to go home and calm down. And that's exactly what I did. If you've made it this far and you believe that sometimes calm is more powerful than any confrontation, comment too. Because sometimes the moment we go quiet is the moment everything begins to change. On Monday morning, while Daniel was making rounds with the residents, he was handed an envelope in front of everyone. Within hours, my phone began vibrating non-stop. Anger turned into confusion. Confusion turned into pleading. By the afternoon, I received a short message from a contact at the hospital. Daniel and Claire had been suspended pending investigation. By the end of the day, their contracts were terminated. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt that everything had reached its inevitable conclusion. That evening, I changed the locks. I folded his clothes into large bags and left them on the front porch. When Daniel came back, he said I had destroyed his career. I calmly told him I hadn't done that. His choices were what led to this outcome. 4 months later, the divorce was finalized. He moved to another city. Claire left the state. I stayed. I renovated the house, repainted the walls that had witnessed years of prolonged silence. I was promoted to partner. I adopted a small dog named Atlas. I learned to enjoy mornings without bracing for a 6 p.m. text message. A year later, Daniel texted me from an unknown number saying he regretted everything and was trying to change. I read the message 3 times and realized I no longer felt anything intense. No anger. No sadness. Just clarity. The lesson I took from all of it is simple. When someone tells you to calm down, don't automatically see it as dismissal. Actually calm down. Look at the facts. Trust your instincts. Act with preparation, not with rage. Because calm at the right moment is not weakness. It's power. And sometimes walking away from a relationship that no longer respects you is how you step into a better life.